and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we're talking about Sisley. So the Sisley Las Vegas boutique is having a sale, 20% off on October 7th, 8th, and 9th. So I will leave the information for that down below, but they have recently come out with some new shades and some of the products that I really like. So I did pick those up when they were released, and we're gonna go over those. And then at the end, I'll just have a couple of my favorite Sisley items and we'll talk about those. First, let's take a look at the eyeliners. These are the phyto-star waterproof eyeliner. They have had this, particular eyeliner formula around for a while, but they have been in different finishes. They have now created a matte finish, and they have, several, like a whole line's worth of shades in the new matte finish. I picked up two of them. So the first one I picked up is the green. So this is number 3, and it's called Matte Jungle. And let's just put that on here. And this is what it looks like. It's a really deep green. And I'm just gonna kind of smudge it out down here at the end so you can kind of see how that smudges. You have maybe 30 seconds or so of playtime before it stops smudging so well. And then it starts to, like certain areas it'll start to stick. So then we also have number 5, which is Matte Peacock. And put that right next to it. This one is much more vibrant. Look at that. So it's blue with a touch of teal. And I mean, peacock blue is a great way to describe it. Look at that. Really, really beautiful. Very vibrant. It's what I have lining my eyes today. And I do have a get ready with me that I'll show you with this look as well. So as for the formula on these phyto-star liners, these are fantastic. They are one of my favorite eyeliners because I personally like eyeliners that are smooth and creamy and you can smudge out. I love to smudge my eyeliner, and these work really well for that. So they're very smooth and creamy. If you've tried the Victoria Beckham kohl liners, think creamy like that, but they perform better for me. They will stay put. Again, you've got about 30 seconds or so of playtime before it really starts to set down. I have tried them in my waterline. I don't typically wear eyeliners in my waterline, but they did last reasonably well in the waterline for me. So I think, I just think the performance is really there on those. They are expensive, so I would recommend picking them up on sale. And I really like both of the shades that I picked up. The green is, a pretty dark forest green, whereas the blue, you can see you've got like a touch of teal in there, but it's almost like a turquoisey blue. Very, very beautiful. I think peacock blue is the perfect name for it. And then moving on to some other new items, we also have a couple of the Phyto eye twists. So there's shade 16, which is, it's a taupe brown. I think it's just called taupe. But this is a matte shade, and look, when you rub it out, you can see that it's warm brown undertones. So one of my favorites, let me just show you that one right now. Well, it is my favorite. I actually need to get a new one because I broke mine. It's old, so it kind of fell out. It was a sample size. So anyway, this is number 1, Topaz. Let me put that right here. You can see that Topaz has like a satin sheen, and it's going to be a little bit cooler in tone than the matte brown, but not by much. It's really more of just like a satin version of it. And there's a little bit more, I'm not sure how to describe it, like more of a champagne tone to it. Whereas this one has a little bit more golden tones. This is warm though too, so just so you know, they're both like kind of on the warmer side. And then 17 is another new one. This is Rose Bronze, and look at that. This one's shimmery. You can see again, you do have some warmer tones when you rub it out, but you can see it's a really beautiful shade. It actually looks a little bit more like a lilac shade. I think it's really pretty. I wasn't sure if I would like it, but I found that I really do. Now, blending this one out and getting those warm tones, I don't like that so much. I like it more piled up for my coloring. But if you have warmer coloring, blending that out more, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful shade. So I really like those. You know, those are, the Sisley eye crayons are one of my favorites. They might be my #1 favorite. I just love how smooth and creamy they are. I can wear them on their own without any primer or anything, and they last all day without creasing. I do have to say I do typically smudge it in the crease area, but no signs of creasing or anything by the end of the day. And I love how they have the different finishes. A lot of times if I'm doing like an easy one and done kind of look, I'll just put that on. I'll use the same shade as a liner and just not smudge it out at all. I think it's really, they're a really great product. Definitely really nice. And then we have 3 new Phyto lip twists. So this one here is shade 24. This one is my favorite. It's become like a go-to shade. It's what I have on my lips right now. And you can see it's like a nude rose shade. It is a little bit warm, okay? So it is a little warm, but you can see you've got a little bit of a shimmer and there's like a high sheen to it. It's very balmy, very comfortable. And on my lips, you know, I think it's like the perfect mix of neutral and cool tones. It's really, really pretty. And then we also have number 25, which is, I believe that's Soft Berry. And let's see if we can make that a little thicker. There. So this is Soft Berry. And I think this is, I probably should have smudged a different part, but I think this shade is great for people who want a berry lipstick, but typically they're too cool, because this is warmer for berry tones. I think it looks like a really pretty berry shade, but it's actually a little bit more red than a true berry. I think a true berry usually has a little bit more of like those purpley tones in there, a little bit cooler. This is definitely going to be a little bit warmer. So I think it's going to work really well for people who want a berry tone, but berries don't typically work on them. And again, it's got that beautiful sheen as well. And then we have 26 True Red. And you can see that this one here is a cool tone red. You've got some of those like pink undertones. It's gorgeous. This is a great red. This is a great formula for a red if you're somebody who is afraid of wearing reds. But again, it is going to be a cooler red. So I just have a few comparisons I want to share with you from some other shades. And let's start off with, where is it? Number 1. This was my previous favorite, and I still really like this one. But you can see it's going to be a lot lighter and it's more champagne. This is, I forget what it's called. I think it might just be called Nude, but it has a little bit of a shimmer in there. You can see it's definitely not going to be quite as pink, and it's a little bit softer in coloration as well and pigmentation. And then this one here is shade number 2. This is going to be more of like your, I think it's actually called candy, but it is like more of a candy pink. It's pretty neutral. Reminds me of like the Carnation Pink Crayon. You know, that one might, I don't remember what the name is, but this one here is 8. This one might be the coral one. This one has a little bit of a shimmer as well. And you can see that it's really more of a pink with orange tones in it, but I wouldn't say a true coral. It doesn't have quite enough orange in it to me to make a true coral. And then I also have one of the matte ones. So the matte ones have a different shape. You can see instead of having that crayon shape, it has more of this like teardrop. This one here is 18. This is the red. I'm going to put this right here near the red, and you can, I mean, I think it's a gorgeous shade. You can see that they are going to be fairly similar. This is really more of a satin version of it. It's going to be a little bit more sheer because of the formula, but I think coloration wise, they're very similar in tones. So those are the new products that I have picked up. There is also a new Phyto blush twist, a new shade in that. I personally don't like their blush twists, so I did not pick that up. For me, they don't really last all day. I have one, I've only tried one of them, but I don't think they're worth it. So that I would say pass on. So let me share the lip swatches for these 3 new shades real quickly, and then we're gonna move on to the Get Ready With Me so you can see all of these items in action, and then I'm gonna share a few sales recommendations. So as you're looking at these lip swatches, I have to say that I personally really love the formula for these lip crayons. They are my favorite lip crayon formula by far of all of them. Every brand that I've tried, a lot of times they are, they're okay or they're dry. These, however, are fantastic in my opinion. You can put them on sheerly and they're going to be thin and balmy feeling on your lips. You can pile it on. You don't really have to worry about bleeding or feathering with these. I don't have to use a lip liner. I just think they're so easy to use. The satin ones and these shimmery ones with this crayon shape, very easy to use. The matte ones that have more of that teardrop shape, again, it goes beautifully on the lips to kind of help you get more precision. I think these are just a stunning, stunning formula. Now, they don't have a sharpener, so that is something to note, that once you kind of wear down that shape, that's kind of how it is. But I absolutely love them. The 2 shades that I wear the most would be number 1 and 24, but I love adding in some of these other shades like periodically. The 3 new shades, I love all 3 of them. I definitely think I will be wearing them a lot. I think this True Red though really shines. I really love the red one. So out of the new shades, I'd pick 24, then 26, and then 25 if I had to rank them, because I think the red is just so easy to wear. And again, if you want just like a hint of color, just dab it on lightly, add some gloss, and you've got this beautiful, easy, soft red. Or you can pile it on and get something more impactful. And the formula is just so comfortable. Really love it. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these products in action, and I will share my thoughts at the end. So on my skin, I have the Surratt Perfectionist Primer, and this is the Sisley Paris foundation, and I have shade 0R Vanilla. And I'm just gonna pump some of this out. Now, when I first got this, the first 3 or 4 times that I used this, it kind of like sprayed. It was like really liquidy. But now that I have used it a bit, you can see it's a thin formula. You can see it's kind of like liquidy, but it's not as thin as it was when I initially started using the bottle. So just something to note. This is the Kyoto F03, I think it is now, but it was the Fupa brush, and it's a synthetic brush. This is one of my favorite foundation brushes. Now, the Sisley Paris, it's a very expensive foundation. It is intended to be used daily to provide skincare results. I've been using it pretty much every day for a couple of weeks, but that's not long enough to really see if it does anything. So just something to note there. And just using up the rest of what's on my hand. You can see that this is going to be a lighter coverage. If you really want to build it up to medium, you could, but I'd say like a light medium. So I'm not going to add any concealer, but I am just going to take whatever's left on my brush here and just kind of wipe that under my eye just to provide a little bit of coverage. And then I'm going to set everything with the Sisley Phyto Poudre Compact. This is shade number 1, Rosy. Taking the Rephr 25 brush and just going to swirl some in here and just a light dusting. Okay, next I'm taking the Sisley, this is the Phyto Poudre blush. This is number 2 in, what is this, Rosy Fuchsia. So I'm just going to get a little bit on the Sonia G Smooth Buffer. I patted it once on my cloth because this is very, very pigmented. So I want to go in very, very lightly. So I'm just kind of pouncing that on. And then I'm going to put some on the other side and then kind of buff this in. So I've got some here for the other side. And you can see I put a little bit too much on there, but that's okay. So then I like to take the smooth buffer and just kind of buff this in circles. And it gives a really beautiful like rosy flush to the skin. And then, you know, if you want to dilute it more, adding a little finishing powder on top is a really nice way to kind of dilute it and add a little more blurring. But you can see how pretty these blushes look on the skin. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the phyto puder powder right on top. All right, so there's the blush. And in place of highlight today, we're actually going to use one of the highlighting blushes. So this is the L'Orchidee Rose #2 blush. I'm taking the Suku face brush and I'm just going to get a little bit of this in here. You can use this just as blush, which I often do, but I just want like a slight sheen. You can see that's just going to give like a little bit. And this, I just think it's like a really beautiful soft glow. So moving on, we are going to use one of the new Sisley shades in the Phyto Eye Twist. So it's not a new product, but the shade here is new. This one is 17. It's like the, I forget what they call it, rose gold maybe or something. But we're going to put a little bit of this on and just take my finger and kind of blur that out. And then I personally, you can use this all day without creasing, just like this, but I actually want to add a little bit of the powder shadow as well. Just, I really like pairing them and mixing them. So I'm going to take the single in #34 Sparkling Purple, and this is the KZ06 eyeshadow brush. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that powder on here and just kind of put that on. And I'm focusing on the outer half and a soft blend towards the inner corner. So I think that just kind of adds a little something to the eye to add a little bit of that purple. It cools off this shade a little bit and you still have all of that beautiful sparkle and everything. I'm just taking this brush and just kind of, I wiped it on my cloth already, but just moving into the crease a little. All right, and then for liners, we are going to use one of the new matte liners. Now, I've had the green one for a while, and I've used that quite a bit, but I did just pick up the blue one as well. So this is Matte Peacock #5 in the matte line, and this is what it looks like when it's brand new. So let's just see how much is in here. There you go. Turns very nicely. And then you do have a sharpener at the bottom. And let's go ahead and see how this one looks on the eyes. These are super, super creamy. I just like to turn it up just a touch at the corner because, well, you know, it just ends up bringing up your eye a little bit. So I'm just taking a brush to smudge that a little bit. I like mine a little smudged. So you don't have a ton of time to work with to smudge that. That's okay. I think that actually looks okay. And you can see the color is pretty emphatic. I like that shade. All right, so there's the liner, and I just want to add something a little bit sparkly to the inner corner. So I'm going into the Sisley highlighter. This is one of the Phyto blushes. This is #6 in shimmer. And I'm using this for the inner corner to add a little bit of shimmer, but I have to say I don't really care for this highlighter. So this one I wouldn't really recommend, but you know, it's okay. There's nothing like wrong with it per se. It's just not great. Now, I don't have any Sisley brow product right now. We're going to go ahead and use, this is what I've been using the most. This is the Jones Road Brow Pencil in Ash. And you can see it's getting a little small. All right, so I'm going to add some mascara. One of my favorite mascaras is the Sisley So Stretch mascara. I am out of it, so I'm actually using the Surratt Noir Lash Tint, which is my other favorite. Those are my top two. So I'm going to add that, and then we're going to come back and do lips. All right, and to finish off this look, we're going to go into number 24. This is like my favorite now. All right, so we're gonna try out this Sisley Phyto Eye Twist in Rose Bronze. So this is the shade, and this is one of the new colors, and I'm gonna just kind of start sweeping along the lash line and then just kind of going over the lid a little bit more. I don't have any primer on today, so I went mostly up. Taking the worker brush from the Sonia G Lotus set, and I'm going to just finish kind of buffing that in. Very nice light look. It's not as rosy as I was afraid it was going to be, and there's a slight shimmer to it. It's a really nice, like everyday, very soft look. All right, let's take a look at the other new shade, which is Taupe, that came out. And this you can see is a much deeper brown. It's a taupe brown, and it's like a darker brown. So we're going to use this along the lash line just for a slightly smudged look. Just taking the tip of this just to kind of darken this area by the lashes, but I don't want it to look like liner per se. There, so just a little depth there, and just adding a touch of that to the lower lash line, and just gonna kind of blend that out. All right, so you can definitely see it, like the more that I'm looking at it, the more like rosy it looks to me. Not like it's like totally pink, but you can definitely see like a hint of that rose tone into it. Yeah, so let me know what you think of that. Let's add something to the inner corner. Since I have the NARS cheek palette here right now, we're just going to go ahead and wipe off this brush. I'm just going to go into the highlight here and just get a little bit of that up and tap it on the inner corner here. So yeah, going for a very light look today. Gonna do my lashes, finish my makeup, and see you in a bit. All right, so for the eyes, we're taking the Sisley Phyto Eye Twist in, I think it's called Taupe. It's number 16. So you can see you can really just kind of smudge these out on the lid very nicely. You know, use it kind of like as an eyeliner or whatever. This is finger application. You can see that you can kind of blend this out a little bit. Put a little bit more here. A little bit more on the base. And these they smudge out really nicely, but they do set, so you don't want to take too long to work with them, but that's the taupe shade. And then I'm going to show you what this shade looks like using a brush to smudge it instead. And this is the Sonia G Pencil 2 brush. Just going to kind of smudge that. So if you apply these with a brush, you actually get, I mean, you can get this more sheer, the blended out portion. I like it both ways. You know, it kind of depends on I'm doing, let's just get a little bit more product here. Get that in the crease a little bit better. All right, and there we go. So this is shade 16. So I'm just going to finish this off with just a touch of this on the outer third. And then I'm going to use this brush to kind of smudge that a little bit. And that's it. Now, I mean, you could use something a little bit deeper for eyeliner, but just to show you how all-in-one this really can be for a look, just add a little bit here, right to the lash line. And that's it. I'm gonna add some mascara. I'll show you from a distance. All right, and these are the eyes from a distance. I hope that was helpful. These are some of my favorite Sisley items, so I would recommend them for the sale. Let's go over these in order along with a few other items. Let's start off with the foundation. So the foundation is something I picked up this summer. I just started using it. I have shade 0 Rose Vanilla, and so 0R. And I really like this foundation for like a light to light medium type of coverage. It's more of a serum foundation. And according to the box, it says a foundation with the best of Sisley makeup and skincare. Immediately, the complexion is even, more radiant and fresher. Day after day, thanks to a complete anti-aging skincare action, the skin is moisturized, smoother, energized, and firmer. It looks younger, long-lasting, oil-free, non-comedogenic. And I've really been enjoying it. I haven't used it long enough to tell if there are any like skincare benefits or anything like that. But I do really enjoy it, and I've gotten quite a few compliments on my skin in person whenever I wear this one. So I think it's a great foundation. And it's made in France. It has a 12-month shelf life, and the bottle is 1 ounce or 30 milliliters. I think Sisley foundations in general is a little bit hard to shade match, in my opinion, because I feel like they have just released a new foundation, but their shade descriptions and shade names are very different from the others. And I do find that their foundations tend to run a little bit warm in general, kind of like Dior. Okay, so they run a little bit warmer. They're not quite as warm as Dior foundations, in my opinion, but they do tend to skew that way. So if you're looking at a foundation and you are not sure of your color, I would recommend waiting to get a shade match, get some samples from a department store or something. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful foundation. I really love the finish, and this shade 0R is a really great shade for me. Moving on, I do have the Sisley loose powder. I think it's nice, but it's not like my favorite. I don't have the shade Irisay that everybody raves about, so I do need to try that one sometime. But my favorite powder, and this is my favorite pressed powder, the Chantecaille Cle de Peau is my favorite finishing powder, but this is like kind of my favorite all-purpose powder. This is the Phyto Compact. I have shade 1, Rosy, and I've contemplated getting this in the deepest shade for a bronzer as well, but I never did. So this is 0.42 ounces or 12 grams, and it's made in Italy. I've been using this since it came out. It has a 3-year shelf life after opening. The compact itself is kind of cheap and chintzy. I don't love the actual compact. This is plastic, and I do feel like I haven't had any issues yet, but I feel like this depressing action is going to fail before I'm done with the powder. I could be wrong on that, but you have a mirror inside. I believe it came with a puff. I always remove those. You can see, I use this for like 9 months of the year. I use this every day. So since it came out, and you can see you don't really need a lot. This is great if you want to put a little bit under the eye or just all over the face. I typically use it for setting powder, but you can also use it for finishing powder. I think it's just a fantastic powder. It's like invisible on the skin, yet provides like this blurring veil. So it's my favorite. Don't use a lot though. You really don't need a lot. It's gonna last a while. And then moving on to the blushes. This is still my #1 blush formula for pressed blushes. I used the Rosy Fuchsia today. My favorites are the Rosewood, followed by Coral, followed by Rosy Fuchsia. Those would be my top three. And then I would go with number one. I forget what that one's called. It's like the baby pink kind of shade. And then the 4 Golden Rose, which is actually a very shimmery highlighting blush. So if you don't like sparkle, don't get that one. The highlight shade number 6, the shimmer, I don't love that. I wouldn't recommend that. But these blushes, I think, are amazing. And I also really love the Orchidea blushes. So I have all 3 of these. You can use these just as a light blush on the cheeks. They are very sheer in color, or you can use a little bit just to get a tiny bit of a sheen and shimmer for a light highlight, which is how I used it today. These are just incredible. I absolutely love these. You know, I don't think you can go wrong with these. And they're pretty big. This is 15 grams. They're gorgeous. And the Orchidea, you know, it's not just an imprint. This it goes through. So you have a mirror at the top, and this one has an 18-month shelf life. I can tell you they do last longer than that. And then moving on to the eyes, we use the Phyto Eye Twist. I really love the formula of those. We talked about that before. And then I also use a bit of the powder eyeshadow, the singles. And I have to say, I do like these. They're not the best powder eyeshadow formula, in my opinion, but there's some quality to them that I really like them. I like mixing them together. I typically don't wear these on their own. I really like mixing this purple one with the Topaz Phyto Eye Twist and the 24 Silky Steel shade. I just love mixing them all together. I think these pair very beautifully with the eye crayons, and the eye crayons work fantastically as an eyeshadow base in general. So if you're looking for a great like eye primer base, you know, putting something like that on underneath works really well. On their own, I do find that if I don't use a primer with these, I do have creasing. So just something to note, I think these are best paired with a primer or with another product. But I actually have picked up quite a few other new ones that I just haven't gotten a chance to open yet. I like them. All right, and then moving on to the eyeliners. I have 2 of these so far. I absolutely love them. I have used the sparkling ones. I don't have any of them at the moment, but I do need to pick those up again. I think they are a fantastic formula, and I really like these. I'm planning on getting more of them. And then the lip twists, I love them. They're like a go-to. You know, it's something that I use. I've been using them for years, and it's something I always go back to. It's one of those like go-to things you can throw in your purse, or I leave on my desk and just kind of like put on whenever. They're fantastic. Again, my favorite shades would be nude, and so number 1 and 24. Those would be my top favorites. And then I love this true red shade. The matte red is really nice also, but I have to say I don't wear the matte one as often. I do prefer more of a satin lip. You can see that the sheen you get from here is not quite like a gloss, but it's almost like a gloss hybrid. Now, some other recommendations. I love those Sisley Lafito glosses. These are fantastic. I do have all of the shades of these except for the clear. I didn't purchase the clear, but you know, I think they're awesome. My 2 favorites, if I had to pick 2, it would probably be number 2, Aurora, and then also number 7, Venus. So let me show you those. This one here is, here's 7. Venus, this is your like nude shade here. I'm gonna put this here because I always end up smearing it on my clothes otherwise. But you can see this one has a little bit of pigment. Most of these lip glosses are going to be on the sheerer side. I find these aren't sticky, which is why I like them, and yet they provide a great amount of sheen and shine to them. Most of these are sparkly, but some of them are not. So there are a couple that aren't. This one here is number 2, Aurora, which is like pink with the slightest touch of lavender in it. You can see that one's sparkly. I think it's just a really gorgeous shade. You know what? Let's just put that on top here so you can see it on top. I mean, look at that. It's like a glass-like finish. And there's a little bit of a fragrance. It's like, it's not strong, but it's a little bit of like one of those like fruit oils, in my opinion. And those would be, those are my top two favorites for those, but I really love all of them. I also use this one here, number 4, Twilight, quite a bit. You can see this one. Look at that. So I think they're a fantastic formula. I think they're still my favorite lip glosses. Yeah, they are. They're still my number one. So I absolutely love those. And just a couple more items. The lip liners are fantastic. I only have 2 of them. I have Nude, which is like your typical like brown shade. You can see it's kind of like a warm nude, a warm brown. Definitely much warmer than the packaging looks. And that's like a really great basic, but my favorite is the one that came out this summer, number 11, Sweet Coral. I think it's perfect with any of those like bright lipsticks. I personally use it with the Hermes Coral Aqua. I pair them all the time together, but I also put it with any like pinks, reds, orangey type lipsticks just to give it a little something different. And this formula, it's an amazing formula. So I think, you know, try them on sale. I wouldn't pay full price for them. There are some other like really nice lip liners that are maybe not quite as good, but like half the price, like the Chanel lip liners. I really like those. I do think these are a better formula though. They're a little bit drier, and they just stay put so well. They're not like dry like that are gonna make your lips dry. You can color them in and everything like that. But it's like that kind of dryness that makes it a little bit easier to be more precise, if that makes sense. And then lipsticks. I love the Lafito Rouge lipstick formula. I regrettably only have a few of these. This is number 15, Beige Manhattan. This is one of my go-to nude shades. And for pinks, I love 27, Rose Bourgeois. And I also use 21 Rose Numia a lot. I have that one as a sample. So sometimes with your gifts with purchase, you can get little mini lipsticks like this. The Rose Numia was one of the gift with purchases, I think in the spring. So I use these 3 shades quite a bit. They're the only 3 I have. I'd like to get more. I think they're a fantastic formula. They are actually, surprisingly, one of my favorite formulas, even though I don't have that many of them. So they're just like my favorite like classic formula. If you're looking for something a little bit balmier, which is what I'm aware most of the time, these are really more traditional in my opinion, without being like, remember like traditional lipsticks, how they'd have a little bit more drag? These don't have that issue. It's like a perfected version of like a cream or satin lipstick. So I think they're fantastic. I wear them all the time. Beige Manhattan is my number 1. And of course, Sisley also has a ton of skincare, and I will have a Sisley skincare video coming up shortly because I just finished up my bottle on the Le Concentré. And so now I have some updates because I've gone through 2 bottles of that. But I do have to say the majority of my skincare is Sisley. I use a lot of Sisley and Retrouvé, and I'll include that in the separate video. I'll get that up soon. So thank you so much. I hope these recommendations were helpful. And again, I'll leave all of the information for the Sisley boutique and the sale and everything down below in the description box. I'll also have all of these items that I mentioned today linked to other retailers as well. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to know if you've picked any of these items up, what your thoughts are on them. And I hope you have a great day. So stay safe and healthy, and I will see you very soon.